I suggested that
Yes, sir.
we should have had last week. We should have decided that anatomy, applied anatomy for vitreous retina should have been presented.
Yeah, I
Also,
agree, sir. I agree. The basics of that class can be covered
and then
earlier.
also, as a fellow, I wanted to make a schedule, so it has to be a class so that we don't discuss the controversy here. The controversy we can discuss in retina awesome because that's for a surgical technique between experienced surgeons, where you
Correct,
can
sir.
also join and visit
I,
to us and maybe have questions you can write there. And
I will start the meeting talking about basics in vitro retinal surgery, and then I will stop so we can discuss. The good thing is that we discuss and we share, our experience with the residents and fellows. I think it's a good idea. So,
so what Hudson and Jaydeep, what I'm suggesting that we have like a regular class, like an undergraduate, but the topics were to be selected from Ryan's book or Steve Charles' book. I told Aishwarya, make a timetable, and you, me, and Jaydeep, and Dr. Mainly, and Dr. Amit Jain and Asta to say okay. So every week we'll have a fellow to talk from their angle, the basics of anatomy or whatever physiology related, and we talk the subject to the theory, 30 minutes, and 15 minutes we discuss only that. We don't talk experience. We talk the. So I suggested her in few weeks we'll finish the entire vitreoretinal surgery theory,
very good. Yeah, theory.
and
And
then,
do you have
we
the
start medical retina again. And medical
do you
retina
have the
theory and
program ready?
same.
And if you have the program ready, just send it off to me, and
Yeah.
then I will mix it with my program, and so we spread from the
Correct.
next week
No,
on. We start
correct.
the program. That would be great.
So it is not ready, but me, Aishwarya, and Jaydeep will prepare it, and we five will decide. Then we will announce in the next 2-3 days, and then we can go on regularly.
Yeah, that's very good idea. I like that.
And 2-3 weeks later, I want your fellow whoever is interested can decide what they will talk for 15 minutes, and then we can have the combination: one fellow from your institute, one fellow from ours, and then we can also select one fellow from any other place in India or in Brazil. But we
Yeah,
decide. You, me, and Jaydeep will decide in a month ahead who will present when.
yeah, it's gonna be a great schedule. So
Yes.
you send me yours, and I will send you mine, and we mix them, and we are gonna do a very good
Okay.
program. That's gonna
So
be great.
I'm now muting. So we allow
Sir,
you to
this
start.
well, just one question before we start, sir.
Yeah.
This will be like today, every Tuesday we are having this class.
Right.
So
Yeah.
in that, at the beginning, we will have this, and that's what you're saying, right?
No. I'm suggesting a format. 3:30 to 4:30 will keep only 1 hour, and 3:30 to 3:45 will be starting and by the fellow, whichever. Right,
Discussing.
2-3 weeks I suggested Aishwarya so that we know the system, and then
Sure, sure, sir.
everybody we are opening the system to anybody through YouTube and wherever, and then 30 minutes talk by the consultant as a class, and 15 minutes discussion about the same only the topic, and conclude by saying next week so and so will a fellow will present, so and so consultant will present.
That's great. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So we're gonna start next week with the program. And
Yeah.
today I will talk
Do you have any other
informally.
question, Jaydeep?
No, this
Yeah.
is our this class which we are having now Tuesday afternoon. That's what I wanted to know. This is what we are talking, right? Not separate
Only
one.
Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday only.
Only.
It has to be a theory in the beginning, from cover the all subjects of theory, right from anatomy. For example, we now talking basic steps of scleral buckling. We have to do real stepwise, right from conjunctiva to conjunctiva, and then vitrectomy. Then we start with scleral buckling complications,
Yeah.
and
Correct, sir. Sure.
So we
and
follow the
then
program.
vitrectomy complication. Then specifically to macular hole, then macular degenerative
Yeah,
vitrectomy for
very
ART,
good ideas.
vitrectomy
And
for
we have
PDR,
already,
vitrectomy, all theory, indication,
Right, sir. Sure.
contraindication, complication. And if it is a
Definitely.
long topic, we can extend it to two topics, two sessions.
yeah.
Certainly.
And there's
Certainly,
no
sir.
Then
deadline, so we can take
we
6 months
discuss
to
on
finish the
each topic.
theory. In the meantime, Aishwarya, I'm keeping Aishwarya as a new fellow. Like that, anywhere new fellow is there, can orient himself with the subject. At least
Sure,
a
sir.
sound subject in the mind where many people may not have even chance of assisting now.
Correct, sir.
And
Sure,
then
sure,
also,
sure.
I have written to VRSI, I have written to AOS saying that this can be an eye opener for a PG to decide on his future career. If he wants to do it retinal fellow, how it's going to be, how much theory he has to read, how much he has to be. So I am suggesting a sound knowledge before entering the surgical vitrectomy.
Yeah, this is good because in
Okay,
this
sir.
way,
Sure, sure, sir.
it's going to be
Sounds good.
possible to spread to a broader audience and
Yes.
more residents. And as you said, postgraduate people as well, they learn also the basics and things. And we get to the moment we're going to be talking about specific surgeries.
Yes. Yes.
And what I prepared today, and I want to thank also Jessica Fassbender from our retinal fellowship. She's there. She's a retinal fellow,
Hi,
and
Jessica.
we are happy she's there too. And I would like you. I made some of you co-hosts, so
Yes. Yes.
whoever gets
Keep at
in, you just
yes.
allow them in to. And
Yes.
I also invited Dr. Saad Wahib from Saudi Arabia. He's going to participate with us. He's from Retina also. He's going to be
Yes.
with us in a few minutes' time. He's seeing some
Sure.
patients right now, but he's almost done.
Yes.
And the subject today for us to start with will be vitreoretinal surgery, the basics of surgery. How many of you already doing vitrectomies 100% alone? JDip, you do 100% vitrectomy alone, don't you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I've been doing since 2012.
And it's good that we. Asta, are you there?
Yes. Hi, Dr.
Yes.
Hudson.
Hi, how are you
Good
doing?
morning.
Yeah, everything fine?
I'm good, sir. How are you? Yes,
I'm
sir.
fine.
Yes, sir.
And so I will tell you from my experience. As I said before, I like always telling a story, because the story you tell comes from the history from the past and the history that it's going to be in the future here. So it's good to tell. Hello, Amit. Welcome. And so I will tell you about this in how we started. I will start with my retinal fellowship in 1996 here in Brazil. This retinal fellowship, I did retinal fellowship with Marcos Avila, my mentor from here. And we did lots of vitrectomies. We had this retinal fellowship. I did retinal fellowship with Marcos Avila, I think mentor from here. Somebody has
Some echo is coming.
YouTube on. Somebody.
Yes, sir. I guess.
Yeah, it's okay now. I think somebody has YouTube on. I think somebody has the YouTube
It's
on.
still coming.
JDip, please. I think JDip is with.
No, sir. I am not having YouTube on, sir.
Everybody is muted, I think, now.
Yeah. Okay. And so I was telling, I did a retina fellowship here in this city, Goiânia, Brazil, and we are 200 kilometers.
Everybody is muted, I think, now.
Yeah. From. And so I was telling, I did a retina fellowship here in this city, Goiânia, Brazil, and we are 200 kilometers from. Yeah. Now I understood. I have I have to ask you excuses. I have two YouTubes open here. One from the first link and then the other from the second link. That was it was reverberating my voices here. I had the two open. That's why. Sorry. And so I was telling you that we had this fellowship here in Goiânia, Brazil. Goiânia is a city 200 kilometers from the capital, our capital, Brasilia. And uh, you are in the Mumbai, no?
Yes, sir.
Uh, and how
Mumbai.
far is Mumbai from New Delhi? Is it too far?
It's about 2,000 kilometers.
Oh, long. I thought they were closer. So these are probably, I don't know, maybe the largest cities in India, I guess, no?
Yes, sir.
And so I did the fellowship. By the time I did this Retina fellowship over here, interesting, we did the vitrectomy with Lander systems. If you don't remember or if you haven't had contact with the Lander system, maybe Natarajan had the contact with the Lander system. There were small lenses, small contact lenses that we used to put on the cornea. And with these lenses, we could see the retina to operate. But we usually saw it very focal. For example, we had this vitrectomy lens that we put the lens on the cornea and we see the whole thing down, but we didn't have a broad view from the retina to operate. Do you get this? And then we had.
So we still use the landers. I mean, I use.
You still use the Landers?
Yeah, I use it for doing macular peeling and all that, sir.
Yeah,
For
it's
the
good.
magnified macular peeling, macular hole, I still use the landers, sir.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
still use the
it's good.
Landers
It's
for
good.
macular holes.
Yeah, for macular holes. I like to use often, sometimes, if it's for that purpose, to look at the macula, to do a peel, a retina peel for macular hole, for epiretinal membrane. That works good. Still some people use. But the history behind this, I'm telling you, is that they use that for everything. And so they have this lens, the contact lens, to look at the posterior pole. But this lens was not wide angle. So even it was not macular lens, but you just saw the posterior pole. You didn't see anything else. And then you had to use the prism lens. It's a lens like that with a prism. So you rotate the lens around the eye on a ring that was sutured on the cornea. And so you had to rotate the prism 360 degrees in order to see the retinal periphery. And so you started with a core vitrectomy, and then you rotated the lens 360 degrees so you could get rid of the vitreous, the peripheral vitreous. So it was very difficult because you took a lot more time with the vitrectomy as opposed to today's time. Today, the vitrectomies are very fast. Another thing, by that time, I'm talking about 30 years ago, 30, 35, 25, we had this system that was not the system MIVS, micro-invasive vitreoretinal surgery. So we had the large 19 or 20 gauge openings for sclerotomies. So the materials were larger, a lot larger. So you had a lot more turbulence. The cutters were not the best. The cutters were good, but mostly they could go up to 100 cuts per minute and not more. 800, 100, that was still good, you know? And so with time, these materials were developed and got a lot better. And today we have equipments that go from 1,000 to 5,000 cuts per minute. So we had a lot more and better cases and better possibilities and better post-operative period patients. the time for the patient to get a better vision now is a lot less. So today everything is better. So I will share with you what we do usually for a basic vitrectomy. I'm talking about basic vitrectomy. I'm not putting here and discussing the case into detail, but the thing for you to do a very good vitrectomy, uh, first of all, you gotta depend on a very good view and on a very good lens and a very good system. So today I talked about the Lander system, but now we have the wide angle systems. Most people use today the wide angle vitrectomy viewing systems. We have some works on that. And by the time I went to Toronto, Canada to do my retinal fellowship over there, some people were still doing the Landers, and then they switched to the wide angle vitrectomy viewing systems, and I helped them influencing them to change because it was better. And everybody today, almost everybody uses the wide angle system, so you have a very broad view from everything. You are able to perform good surgeries, seeing the whole thing. And if you want to narrow down to see the macular hole, for example, you might use a wide angle macular lens, or you might use the regular macular lens for only approaching the macular area. So in this case, some people prefer, but we had a lot more possibilities today. And I will share my screen with you, so I will show this surgery to you. Can you see my screen there? So I will enlarge a bit here. This surgery is translated into Portuguese and English as well. A friend of mine from our city asked me to do this so that we could use this in a book, in a Retina book over here, with the link, so people could watch the surgery as well. I think it's large enough. I don't want to enlarge it totally. But can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
So I will share the surgery, and then I will stop some time. It's a short video, only 5 minutes, and we will discuss. So this is our city here. Posterior vitrectomy procedure steps by Hudson Nakamura. Case with triple PO of the posterior. So we are talking about the posterior vitrectomy, and this case illustrates very well what I want to say, because we have the structures inside the eye, inside in the vitreous, in the retina, in the epiretina, things that we have to understand before doing the vitrectomy. Epiretinal membrane. So the patient is a phakic one. Internal limiting membrane. Firstly. So we start with the sclerotomies. Usually, the patient in this case is phakic, so I have measuring there 3 or 3.5. In this case, I went towards 3.5, almost 3.8, in order not to touch the lens. So if you are have the patient phakic or aphakic or pseudophakic, you may be closer to the limbus, so you don't have a problem of touching the lens because you don't have the natural lens, but you may touch the intraocular lens even if you need to clean the posterior capsule. But in this case, because the patient is phakic, I went a little further, and we do this temporal inferior sclerotomy. In that place, we use the infusion line, and we have two more, the supratemporal and supranasal sclerotomies. for the materials. We are using the light pipe and we're using the cutter as well. Inferior temporal sclerotomy, 3.5 to 4 millimeters from the limbus is made for the placement of the infusion line. After that, the sclerotomies are made, one superior nasal for the illumination pipe and another superior temporal for the cutter. So you have here the three sclerotomies, and the infratemporal is usually for the infusion line, but not always. You might use the, you might change this, you know. With the experience and the time, you're going to see that some cases, if you have choroidals over there, infratemporal, you have a big choroidals, how can you put the infusion line there? So I will switch it to infranasal. But if it's okay, you still keep it there. By the time I did my retinal fellowship here in Goiânia, we put, as you see here, you have the illumination pipe, you have the cutter, but then I would put the infusion line over here, superior, not inferior. So you might change. Or if you want, if you are comfortable, you put a little more open over here, the sclerotomy, and the other side a little more open, and you put the infusion in between the two. So you might choose, but usually what most people do is using the infratemporal infusion line like that. So it doesn't stay on the way as well. So making it easier to perform the vitrectomy. I'm not talking about the other illumination devices that we could use. And this is the regular cutter here, the regular illumination pipe, and the infusion line. So that varies, the position might vary. Another thing, since I'm here already, this is, for example, the right eye. If I wanna do a macular hole surgery, this, usually I use the right hand, if I'm right-handed, and then this is perfect for me because it's already temporal. But if the macular hole was in the left eye, then I would have to put this infusion line here, this sclerotomy here, a little more close to, instead of 10 o'clock, I'll put it 11 o'clock, so that I would reach, I would reach the macular area in the left eye, the other side, without touching the lens. Understand what I mean? So that varies. You usually, where you put your infusion line and the sclerotomies?
Same places, sir.
Same place.
Inferotemporal. Yes, inferotemporal. That's the normal one. What you have shown, that's what we follow. And as
Okay,
you said,
okay.
there are certain unusual cases where you might have to change the locations. Something even like if there is a Ahmed glaucoma valve in superotemporal quadrant with a bleb there, or something like that, some injury where there is a retinal already a sutured sclerocorneal tear or a scleral tear where you can't put the sclerotomy in inferotemporal quadrant, then you may have to place it in infronasal or some variations like that. But
I
usually
understand.
this
You
is what we
switch
follow.
depending on the case. So let's go inside the eye now. And we start. Yeah, as I said, this is the right eye. I do inverted vitrectomy. So as you see here, you have the infusion line infratemporal, and then you're gonna see the infusion line. It's around here, infratemporal. But this, as I said, is the right eye. So with the cutter, it was easy to reach the macular area. If this is the right eye, so I'm okay. See here the right hand with the cutter. The left hand is with the illumination pipe. So it's right eye, temporal area, macular surface, macular pucker, and the retinal membrane, and whatever macular hole it's easy for me to reach the macula. But if it was the left eye, maybe I would have to switch these positions here from 10 o'clock to 11, and these positions here, 2 o'clock to 3. So I would rotate the eye a little bit, I would use my hands in the, like twisting myself to the left, so I would be able to do the surgery in the left eye. Did you understand this? We start
Yes, sir.
core vitrectomy of the central vitreous. This is very interesting because we have very good visualization system. So I'm doing the vitrectomy and cutting the vitreous in the center. This is called core vitrectomy. You see there the macular hole, macular pucker. And this material, this cutter, goes up to 5,000 cuts per minute. It's 23 gauge, so it's very safe. So I'm not very worried about if I'm gonna pull the retina towards the cutter because it's very safe. It's this stuff was from the constellation. You can notice the highlight reflects off the epiretina from its adherences to the retinal surface. And as you see here, it's easy to see the hyaloid without staining it. We could start staining, but nothing would stain well because what we have here is this large epiretinal tissue over there, the epiretinal membrane. So how would I stain this? Because wouldn't go to the retina, into the internal limiting membrane, wouldn't stain much. So I don't like, this is a discussion for a specific case of epiretinal membranes and macular hole and which dye you use, brilliant blue, ICG. This is a discussion from another day. What I want to point out to you now is that we are able to perform the vitrectomy without any staining, and we see the whole thing very accurate with a very good lens. And now I'm very close to the macula. I switched, as you said, as you saw, I just switched the lens to a macular lens. But this is not a common macular lens. This is a wide angle macular lens. So that gives me a very a better view from and a closer view from the retina. So I see everything into detail. Talking about structure, I already got rid of the vitreous now, and now I'm holding on the epiretinal tissue. I have to be very careful not to pull it forcefully, otherwise I could tear the retina just beneath it, underneath this tissue. So I have to be very patient and very slow. You may notice in the attached tomography, OCT, a great vitreoretinal traction. As you see here in the OCT, we have to be extreme careful doing vitrectomy because we already removed the core vitrectomy. I'm not talking about very peripheral vitrectomy. If you go too peripheral, you might touch the lens. This is not a very good thing. And you might also get a tear in the very retinal periphery. So it's not the point by now. After you do the whole thing, and then you can go towards the retinal periphery and finish your work. So I'm talking about the vitrectomy, the central vitrectomy, and observing the tissues, observing whatever you have in the retina inside. And you see here the OCT, you see the a very large traction here and pulling the retina that way. And I'm holding on the tissue and lifting it up. I did not use any staining so far. I don't need to use because I have such a very good macular lens that I can see the vitreous. And then you have to go back and forth and get a very good zooming from the tissue so that you observe it. So many people rely on the stainings. This is good, but it's not usually required for all surgeries. That's what I want to tell you. A great vitreoretinal traction, so that the movements must be very gentle and careful because we are at the This is interesting now, what I want to tell you. You have this epiretinal tissue, epiretinal membrane, and I'm going forward and backwards towards the mid periphery, but I cannot pull it forcefully, otherwise I would create a traction at the very retinal periphery. I got to be very extra careful on that. So I'm we must now separate the epiretinal membrane from its adherences to the hyaloid and the retina. I'm separating the adherences from the hyaloid and the epiretinal tissue in the retina itself. And I can walk with the cutter because this is very good cutter with 5,000 cuts per minute. I can walk parallel to the retina without touching it, but very slowly. Otherwise, if I use too much suction, I would probably get the retina. But because this is the cut, it's too fast. I'm doing the core vitrectomy. I'm closer to the retina. The closer you are to the retina, the fastest should be your cutting speed. Any comments on that? Jaydeep, do you want to comment on that and what we said so far?
No, sir, it looks good. I generally am using 25 gauge. I feel that's even better. More safer, or rather, you feel more comfortable. The port is closer to the tip of the cutter, more closer in 25 gauge, so you can go really close to the retina, as you said, and lift the tissues and the hyaloid.
Yeah, 25, it is really great. You can be even closer to the retina, and it has more elasticity. It's good for these cases, 25, even 27. Yes, very cool. And our friend from Japan, Dr. Oshima, he loves doing 27 for almost everything. And he's going to be on the next retinal as well. And 25 is cool, yeah. The thing is that you have to get rid of these tissues before, now the retina is free for you to stain. And now the stain is going to work. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. It would probably fall on the tent of the epiretinal tissue over there and wouldn't help much. Now I'm performing this air fluid exchange. That is a step of the vitrectomy. Exchange to inject brilliant blue so that the INL, internal limiting membrane, will be visualized to be removed. Also, in order to relieve the vitromacular traction previously in the OCT exam. We have here. And so I like to perform a total air fluid exchange because doing the total air fluid exchange, the brilliant blue that I like to use most, it stains the retina very well. It becomes very well stained, making it easier for you to know where the internal limiting membrane is. Sometimes you get some small, tiny little folds from the internal limiting membrane, make it easier for you to remove it. So that's why I do a complete air fluid exchange. Some people say do partial air fluid exchange. I prefer not to do partial. I have a much better visualization from the total air fluid exchange.
In the beginning, I was not doing air
As you
fluid
see,
exchange.
it's now possible to remove the ILM. And the thing is, the ILM, they are not always the same, especially in this case. Especially for vitrectomy starters, especially when you are starting your first epiretinal membrane peel or first macular hole case. Sometimes you have a traction that is long-standing over there. In this case, you had this macular pucker over there, everything pulling on the retina for such a long time. And when you see, sometimes the ILM just escapes. You grab it and you rotate in the spinning movement very fast and easy. In this case, as you see, when you pull the retina or the ILM over there, the internal limiting membrane, you see the whitish retina below. So what happens? You have this traction, and very adherent epiretinal internal limiting membrane tissue on the retina, so you have to be slow. This is time for you to be slow. You cannot go fast. It doesn't matter how good you are. You have to be fast and patient, and things are going to be just good. This is the main time of the surgery.
Deal with a specific forceps and with circular and slow movements will remove the internal limiting membrane to relieve vitreoretinal traction section area involving the central fovea. The movements have to be gentle where the forceps gets the ILL and proceeds, with circular movements being extra careful not to go too deep. So it's important to have a macular lens visualization, in this case a wide-angular macular lens, so in this way we have the sense as to notice the central and also the peripheral middle periphery.
It's important for you to do the macular peel and also seeing what is around. Otherwise, you might get lost. So that's why I prefer this macular lens. And this macular lens is the wide angle type, so I don't become concentrated only on the center. And so, as I was saying, you grab and you re-grab and you keep going around this area, and then you have the area released of this epiretinal tissue.
This way we relieve the tractions.
You see this noise? It's not real. I just made it up. Just to be more emotional, the surgery. There's a special sound effect. It looks like he's staring something there, but
After this step, we continue with the vitrectomy to remove residual vitreous from the middle and extreme periphery.
and then I did the work, the main work of the surgery, and I did vitrectomy the core and some mid-peripheral vitrectomy. Now I will take a look in all areas 360 degrees and do vitrectomy temporal, nasal, superior, inferior, and remove the vitreous that is left. Because we are planning to put gas inside the eye, so we need more space. So the more you remove the vitreous, the better. But in those cases like that, you don't need to go too peripheral, otherwise you could either hit the lens with the cutter or the light pipe, or you could create a hole without that being necessary.
Again, we perform a net fluid exchange and endolaser for retinal
Sir,
periphery.
just one thing. One important step here in this beginning of the surgery is PVD induction.
Is what?
PVD induction.
Yeah, of course. And I started the vitrectomy, as you see. We're going to go back to 340 here.
Oh.
I started the vitrectomy here, and this I'm removing with the force as I'm applying here suction and the cutter speed. I'm not
Right.
cutting much. I'm applying this suction so that I lift the PVD. I'm creating the PVD. So I might choose to go around the optic nerve or where I
Right.
see I could get the PVD. In this
Do you
case, I
use
see.
IVTA?
What is that?
Do you use tricot to stain the vitreous? Or
No, I don't use. I was telling you that you might use. Yeah, that's not a problem. And but I don't use at all because I see the vitreous with this lens. It's very easy to see the whole thing. If I zoom it in or zoom it out, I see the vitreous, the periphery. So it's easy to get. As you see here,
You can notice the hyaloid reflects off.
you see I'm getting the hyaloid with.
Inside clearances.
As you see now, I just got the hyaloid with the appropriate suction. The
right.
hyaloid is already on the tip. You might get it in the nasal or this place, it was easier for me. I got a hyaloid over there, so I lift it off and lift it up, and so
After that, we can
I'm starting my PVD induction, and it's possible to use on the tip a silicone tubing, very short one, and if you get hyaloid, it goes bending. It's called the uh, the
Fish
fish
strikes.
sign.
Fish strikes.
Yes, yes, that's it. Yeah, and then it bends, and you know you are at the vitreous area. Now here, moving forward where we were at, and I'm doing some laser. You see? The retina is kind of whitish, so the laser wouldn't take much, but I came uh, to this place with the cutter because I switch hands because the patient has a lens, a natural lens, so I might switch my hands, and oftentimes I'm with the right hand doing vitrectomy, and then I switch, I'm using the illumination pipe, and then I keep switching. And then I did this small barrier laser, just a line or two, because we go back and forth. We enter and we leave the eye, and this could cause attraction. I don't see any hole over there, but I like doing these lines around the retina so that I'm sure I'm not causing, if I caused any traction or any iatrogenic hole, these will protect in the post-operative period while the gas is there, and then the healing process. And if I had this hole, I would do that. I don't do much laser, just where I come with cutter, with the light pipe and the infusion line. Just it's good for me because when I want to see whether the patient is mine or not, I just look very peripheral, supratemporal, infra. Temporal and supranasal, I see this laser is mine. I know the
So you do
patient is mine.
360-degree laser or just at the sclerotomy sites?
Yeah, yeah, just at the sclerotomy sites. And when I see the post-operative patient, the period, I know the patient is mine because I usually do that.
So you connect it to the aura cell.
What is that?
The laser burns, you will connect to the aura, is it?
Yeah, connected to what?
The aura serrata.
I didn't get this.
Do you connect the laser like from aura to aura, like you connect it to the aura serrata?
Yeah, I connect the laser. I have the what I connect is it's that what you asked. I have the laser filter. I have another the laser pipe. So the laser is connected beforehand. So because
No,
I
no. So
know in advance I'm gonna do the laser, so I connect the laser before I know I have to do the thing. The good thing, I always tell the fellows and the residents, especially the fellows, that you have to think in advance, JD. You have to think
right.
before the next step. Otherwise, the surgery will be stopping everywhere. So before doing the laser, I already decided I was going to do, and so I tell the nurse, please mount the laser over there. And now it's the laser time. I have the equipment on my hand, and I start. It's very fast. Next step will be air fluid exchange. I I just press left down the pedal, and then I have the air fluid exchange, and you keep the things going, understand? And
Yes.
otherwise, it would take too much time to do the thing. So the laser was already prepared in advance, and now I'm just using it to for that purpose.
the epiretinal membrane as well as the
And you
internal.
see, we removed the tissue. This patient is a lot better now because he's got no more traction. He was with, as you remember, I'm going to show the two uh, OCTs in movement. He was with this large defect. He still have some macroedema, but by the time the patient was 10%, we didn't see, not even in the angio, the edema just uh, disappeared. There were no more edema.
So that the traction is much less footage from the comparative.
As you see here, what a difference. We don't have the traction anymore. We did not cause any epiretinal defect, JD, because we
Yes,
pulled
sir.
this whole area very gentle. So we
Correct, sir.
just
Correct.
separated. Can you see here? If I pull it very forcefully, I could
There will
have
be iatrogenic hole there. Yeah.
yeah, I could have created the macula hole over here.
Correct.
So that's why I was telling the residents and the fellows. I usually tell them I put the cutter flush to the retina here, and I pull just a little bit, and then I go walking horizontally here to remove only the epiretinal tissue, because this area is already elevated, as you see here. If I go and pulling everything very fast, and then a hole will be created at the same time.
Right. Right.
Understand? And
Yes,
now
sir.
you see the difference before and after.
Looks great
And
now.
the patient was almost 10% gas, but this edema, and we did the angio. I'm gonna show the angio in uh, seconds. The edema disappeared completely. So I start the OCT again.
Retinal membrane, as well as the internal limiting membrane, so that the traction is much less, as well as the macular edema. The footage from the comparative moving OCT shows the macular area before and after the procedure, the macular area and the return to the normality. The retinography and the fluorescent angiogram show.
As you see here, early phases, we don't see the edema anymore. And we have the gas bubble over there, up, it's 10% or less.
10%
And you see the
gas in the absence of macular edema.
2 minutes already. So you don't see maybe some small
Thank you very
edema,
much.
but it's a lot better than it was before. What I wanted to say, to point out to you, is that the vitrectomy applies to specific cases, but some teaching and some details apply to all vitrectomies. So I have this case while I was doing this, and you have a very interesting image from here in the OCT on the left. You have the whole thing just pulled away from the retina, and in the OCT, postoperative OCT, you don't see this defect anymore. Understand? It's very interesting to remove only this area, but if I go forcefully here, I would have created a hole, and then the outcome would be worse. So as I said, it's not easy to do that way, but I'm very familiar doing that way without even staining, because I didn't need to stain. Did I need to stain? I have very, very good view from the retina, very good lens, very good wide angle vitrectomy lens and the macular lens. So I see the vitreous, even though the vitreous is translucent. But then by pulling the tissue, by doing the DVP, as you said, promoting the PVD, then the vitreous appears. And then at the retinal periphery, you zoom it out, so you come a little farther from the retina, you see the retinal periphery, the peripheral vitreous, and you get rid of it with the surgery, with the vitrectomy. So it's not difficult at all. You just have to see it. And the good thing, the vitrectomy, to be good, you gotta see. You gotta see what we're doing, because if you don't see, you don't do. Whatever you see, you do. If you don't see, I don't think you should even try to do. Understand? And
So which lens do you use for the macular surgeries?
I
What viewing
use
system do you?
most of my lenses are from Vogue. From Vogue, I have
Okay.
uh, the vitrectomy, the regular lens from Vogue. It's called the SSV, that gives you a very good view from that small lens, a very good view from the retinal in a hole in the retinal periphery as well. But I like, you know why I do my sclerotomy is a little further. I don't go too far, otherwise I would touch the retinal periphery. I go 3.8, not 3.5. 3.8, just before 4 millimeters from the limbus, because I like using the quadraspheric lens, for example, for the peripheral vitrectomy. Because the quadraspheric, if you see the whole thing, like doing the laser, the image is more magnified. You see the image larger, and you don't touch the lens. But if you put your sclerotomy site very close to the limbus, then you would move your hands and then you would touch the lens. But if you put these sclerotomy sites 3.8, 3.5 to 6 or 3.8 millimeters from the limbus, you don't touch the Volk lens as well, at all. You don't touch it. And so I like using this because I'm very familiar. Even the small lens, I control myself. I use this large lens, so I hold the lens. So I don't have an assistant. The assistant is on my side, just to put methyl cellulose and wet the cornea. And if he's a fellow, he's going to switch the positions with me, and he's going to do the surgery as well. But I don't have somebody to hold the lens because I hold the lens myself. This large lens is easier to hold, but even the small lens, the SSV for the vitrectomy, you hold it very well. You can hold it without having it escape. And I don't use a ring. And this SSV lens already comes with some foot plates, so it goes over the cornea. Anybody of you use this lens, the SSV with the foot plate? I like using this because it stays on the cornea, and even if it moves here and there, and I do the surgery like holding. I with my left hand I have the light pipe, with the right hand I have the cutter, and with other fingers in positions I have the lens in place. I have a video in YouTube showing inverted vitrectomy, how we do that. But I'm not teaching and asking you to do inverted vitrectomy, but how I do that, I would say, I better explain. Because the movements to where you want to cut, for example, if you have a phakic patient, and if you want to go too far periphery, you got to move the eye so the cutter will go past very below and far from the lens, so you wouldn't touch the lens at all. And this lens, SSV, gives you so much peripheral visualization that if you have a phakic patient, if you want to go too peripheral, you touch the lens. So you, even with the best peripheral lens, you cannot use it in the phakic patient, otherwise you would cause the cataract. So you have to know the limits from the lens, you have to do the appropriate movements in the eye, so you get the appropriate structures you are looking at. Aishwara, what did you think about it? Was the surgery interesting?
Yes, the video was very good, very interesting. I actually got to know a lot of points. One doubt I had, sir, that in all the surgeries, wherever you're operating the traction, you're also showing us the picture of the OCT, wherein it's showing that there is traction. So does this mean that in every case, before you do the surgery, you must compulsorily take an OCT so that you have a better idea of what to do when you go inside?
Yes, yes, yes. Sometimes I even cancel the surgery if I don't have an OCT, especially for macular holes or
Okay.
epiretinal membranes, and especially because I like operating on epiretinal membranes very early. If the membrane, the patient is at 2040, getting worse, 2050, I decide to operate. So I go ahead and ask for OCT because I need to compare the pre and the post-operative period. So I need the image, not only for that, but also for medical legal questions. And sometimes you have these large macular holes, even though they close, they don't get a good vision out of the patient's eyes. And why my vision is not so good? But you see here, the hole before the hole, now it's closed. But sometimes you don't have, that's why sometimes I ask for microperimetry as well. And the PAM was a potential of the visual acuity, macular, and it's good that you have, but for macular surgery, I usually convince my patients that it is very necessary, even though many patients are private and many patients are from the government that they cannot pay, but they talk to the family and
Yeah,
they,
I think OCT would be a little bit expensive, so all patients, I mean, I don't know about Brazil, but in India, I don't know if everyone will be able to afford. So how do we,
yeah, I
if
think
it's not enough, is it not
it's
enough
almost
to
the
use
same.
our clinical, observation? Like when we examine the patient with a 20D or a 90D indirect ophthalmoscopy, we will be able to know what the traction looks like. So is that not enough before we go in for the surgery? So,
Yeah, could be enough, but I prefer to have the image. But if I don't have the image, I will do the surgery. But most of the cases, I do with the OCT because we have this government system here. It pays the OCT for some patients. Maybe it's same as India, but for angio, for angiography, for other exams or other uh, propedeutics, the government pays, but not for all OCTs, and sometimes the patient has to wait too long. And some of these patients that need the surgery right away, like this one here, he could not wait too long. So we have the some patients we separate for teaching purposes, like this one, and so he had the OCT for free. We call it
okay.
the study case, a study case. And if the patient cannot wait too long, otherwise distraction would be a lot worse within few time. Wouldn't be good for
And
him.
sir, in a patient with very severe traction, during induction of PVD, will the traction worsen? Has that ever happened?
Could happen, but I'm telling you how to avoid it happening. So the first thing, you don't go straight to the macular area where you see this whole thing tractomy. You cannot go straight there. So I started with the core vitrectomy. By doing the core vitrectomy, I removed the traction from the vitreous to the retinal tissue. This was the first thing. So this traction was already better. And then I went straight to the epi-retina, not in that side. I came from the sides, as you see here. See, I'm not on there, on the macular area. So I come here. And then when I got the membrane, you see the membrane there in the screen up right?
Yeah, okay.
The,
Yes,
here,
yes.
yeah, it's like a line, oblique line. You see? It's like oblique line here, supero nasal. See here? This is oblique line.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So I got, it's not here, but it's attached here and there. And so when I got this, see? So I already detached it from periphery.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
and then this movement has to be very slow because it's like uh, you removing something from above the retina. So I'm just going very slow horizontally, and then I just pull it away. You see it?
Okay, sir.
So if you go too fast, and then you create right away this hole there. But I'm very slow. See, I'm very slow going here and there, watching, and then I could grab and re-grab, but this is already lifting up. See, already detached from uh, the epiretinal tissue from the actual retina. See?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So and then what I was telling, especially the fellows here. Jessica, are you listening? Jessica? Jessica is having a breakfast probably now. And as you see here, you go with the cutter. See the cutter? I go walking horizontal. I go walking horizontal here. So I'm flush to the retina, but not very close to it. I'm just grabbing the retinal tissue. I go straight. And now, since I relieved the tractions, I'm now going just open it up. See, you don't have any more traction.
Yes, sir.
And if you go to the end of the case, you did not get any damage to the retina. And if you compare the two images there, so that this is marvelous to have. If you have an OCT, even though the case is very good, very interesting, and the patient cannot wait too long, you can do it as a teaching basis
So do
for
you
free.
use OCT as a guide to decide from where do you want to start the PVT induction? So like in this case, we see there's a very good plane nasally. So do you
Yeah,
use your
yeah.
OCT as a guide?
Yes,
I think that
like
is one of
here.
the
You
reasons why we
see?
would all want to do an OCT.
Yeah, I look it as I use it as a guide for macular holes as well. As you see here, this epiretinal tissue lifted up. So it could be easy to get it from here, but I decided not to get it from here because it's too close to the fovea. But I use the UCT as well for that purpose. And when I have the macular hole and the epiretinal membrane, I see whether the epiretinal membrane is more in the center or more off to the side. So if it's more off to the side, the temporal side, for example, I go straight to the temporal side, far from the fovea, then I grab it from there. If it's a nasal, I don't like to get it very nasal here because you have the papillomacular bundle topography below, so I try not to. Have the membrane above and below, it's even better. You don't need to get it straight there. In this case, I was going around the area, then I lifted up around here, around nasal. Remember the video at the beginning? And then I did the whole thing. So it's interesting when you have an OCT that helps a lot. And as JD asked me about doing the, or it was you, I don't know, asking about the triamcinolone. I don't use triamcinolone as well, but it's a good thing to use, but I don't like using because I do the vitrectomy with the appropriate lenses. I see the whole vitreous. So because also it's a basic vitrectomy, I wouldn't use because
Yes, I think the Vogue lenses which you are saying, they have excellent visualization. So you can possibly see the vitreous at all levels. But in the biome, or if you're using the ones which are using now the resight, uh, you do see the vitreous if it's little opacified or translucent. But sometimes if it's really transparent, it's a good idea in the beginners. For beginners, they can stain the vitreous because you have to make sure that the PVD is induced before, like for a macular hole case. Sometimes you feel that you have induced a PVD when you don't stain, and you try to then use the brilliant blue, and it just doesn't stain the ILM because there is still a posterior hyaloid remaining. So that's why for beginners, I would suggest that you can use a triamcinolone just a little bit over the ONH, and then make sure that you have induced the PVD,
yeah,
and
good
so
idea.
then
But
stain.
for
Okay.
our residents and fellows, we don't.
For beginners, it's a
We
good
yeah,
idea
for
because
beginners, we don't teach that straight. That's the point.
Yeah, because it would be a
We
little
teach
difficult
them
to visualize,
straight.
no, sir.
What is that?
It will be a little difficult to visualize, no, sir, when there is so much traction, and we will not be able to differentiate where the vitreous is and where the traction bands are. So I think like that's what whatever I've observed, I've always found that that is the problem for me when I see. I've never performed a surgery because I've just started out, but I've only observed, and each time I observe, I always wonder how does the surgeon know where the vitreous part ends and where the traction begins.
Yeah, but my advice to you on that, I wouldn't use at all at the beginning. Why? Because when I start doing the vitrectomy and I do the core vitrectomy, and if I have a good lens and I see the vitreous and the lens is clear, so I don't need to use anything. And then you see the traction over there, and uh, with the macular lens, you approach, you have a very zoomed view from the retina. So as you saw, it's easy to separate. When the resident or fellow is starting to do the vitrectomy, that's where I have him not to use the triamcinolone at the beginning, because he has to know, to understand the vitreous. So he would go straight in the middle, doing the core vitrectomy, trying to learn the movements, the zoom in, zooming out, and to recognize the vitreous. Because if you start at the beginning with dyeing the vitreous with triamcinolone, then you don't have interest to look after the vitreous. So everything is already there. So you do the thing mechanically. So for beginners, I do the other way around. I don't let them use the triamcinolone. But then, if the case is more demanding, like this one, for me it was not, but for the first year fellow would probably be. So then I will have him use the triamcinolone. But as I said, suppose you don't have triamcinolone at all, and it's finished in the market, and you cannot even buy it. Or the government said you don't have to use that anymore. You cannot use it for any reason in the hospital, and the other hospital doesn't have you to lend it. And then you have to go ahead and do without it. And if you learn to do without it at the beginning, it's going to be a lot easier for you. And that's what I'm telling you. The fellow, when he starts the vitrectomy, he has to know very well the vitreous and do vitrectomy. And he knows whatever is there below the vitreous is not vitreous anymore. It's epiretinal tissue, it's epiretinal membrane, it's whatever else. So he cannot make the confusion between what is not vitreous, especially in diabetic retinopathy patients with vitreous hemorrhage. You start doing the vitrectomy, you see the whole thing red, you don't see much,
Yeah,
and
the
then you
visibility will
start
be
doing
poor.
vitrectomy, and you might get the retina because the retina has traction and is up above, and then you cut on the retina. You understand what I mean? So
Yes, sir.
it's important to learn to start without using it. And when you are used to the vitrectomy, in the one or the other case, you start using the triamcinolone. And then I agree. And after you got rid of the vitreous, and then you would use another dye as a brilliant blue. We like to use the brilliant blue. And the case is going to be just okay. But as you saw, this case is a macular case. Macular cases are usually very, you got to be very careful. So be slow, no rush. You don't need to rush, don't need to go fast.
Sir,
That's
I
me.
would
That
also, sir, but you just described how you hold the lens yourself, like you have a cutter in one hand, pipe and light pipe in other, but you're still able to stabilize the lens without needing an assist. Because I have done vitrectomies using these Vogue lenses for quite some time, but I always had an assistant who would hold the lens for me. So if you could, sir, post a video or demonstrate as to how you manage to
yeah, this is a lot of training, Asta. And
stabilize no suturing and
uh,
okay.
yes, I said I have a video on YouTube showing
I mean, a
that
video from
how.
outside which shows how you are handling the lens, an outside video as to how you have positioned your hand so as to you are able to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This video I'm showing my hands how they stay,
Yes, sir.
and I already learned that from my brain. When I go this way, I see the thing the other way around because I operated inverted. Also, my
That's amazing,
movement.
sir. Operating inverted is, I think, the most difficult thing to learn doing an inverted vitrectomy. I know just one or few people who are doing that. Like we are all used to doing a vitrectomy while using an inverting system. You do it without that. That's really amazing.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks. And take a look into my video in YouTube. It's called I think it's how I do inverted vitrectomy. and then you're gonna see my hands out of the eye. You see how they move and how I go back and forth. I'm used to that. Even the small lenses I put on the cornea, and I can get away without assistant holding. Sometimes I have the assistant. No, you don't touch it because you're gonna shake, and my instead of helping me, it's not gonna be okay. But then when I switch it over to the fellow like Jessica, you're there. Did you finish your breakfast? I don't know if Jessica is there. I think. But she was there. But because the iBank Foundation, the people already started seeing patients there, I guess. But then I switched to Jessica, for example, and she does the vitrectomy, and we go back and forth. And when we see the fellow is more confident, and then he does the whole case. That's why I learned. That's why the way I learned in Toronto, Canada, with Dr. Deveni, Dr. Lam, and people from Retina, and they we had this small booklet. We wrote. Dr. Nakamura did 30% of the surgery, 50%, 70%, 100%. My first 100%, I was so happy. Because we are already done by the end of the fellowship. There are 300 cases. So it's good. And I guess in your service, you have many patients like we have here in the iBank Foundation, because we see lots of people referred all over the country. And so we have many referrals from here. So that's what was about it. And I'm stop sharing here. I'm so happy that I can share with you these things that I do. I'm not saying this, I'm sharing this knowledge. I'm sharing some experience from things I do, from things I did, from things we learned and decided not to do anymore, and from experience. And last but not least is don't go too further, don't go too much. And if you think the case is over, it's good, and you already removed the membrane, for example, and finish by there, and stop it there, and don't go too peripheral, otherwise you're gonna get a break in the retina. So be extra careful with everything, and do it in special times of surgery. Do it slow pace. There is no point to rush. There is not the nurse like I did my fellowship in Canada, and I was there with Dr. Deveni and the nurse. Dr. Deveni, you have just 10 minutes. You have to rush the other case. Understand? Then we get crazy with that. But if you can wait, do you agree, Dr. Natarajan? If you spend some more time doing the macula hole, the pin in there, spend time, no rush. See first, do after. Do not do the action without seeing the best, with the best lens. If it gets unfocused, you get it focused again, and then you grab the membrane. Don't rush. That's my advice. That's what I do so far.
Good.
Natarajan, it's so interesting. It's so good to talk to you and people and share these
Yes.
things. And I'm very happy that we're going to start the program, because the program is good for everybody, and we may share mostly our experience on that.
So my suggestion, I told, I think probably Jaideep, me, now Asta and Amit can finalize with Aishwarya. So I thought my idea was to teach a new fellow like Aishwarya, who's still not exposed to vitreoretinal surgery. She's going to come to the hospital only next week. And then
Yeah.
she can be equipped. She, like anybody in the world, can be equipped with what is vitreoretinal surgery theory. And simultaneously, the residents, PGs, postgraduates, and beginners of ophthalmology can also listen to this whenever they want. and then get interested. For example, somebody wants to say, okay, I'm going to be a comprehensive ophthalmologist in a remote part of the country, whether it's India or Brazil or Argentina. And then I want to know when to refer a surgery patient or a medical retina. They should get a concept from this, from the, what do you call, from the internet or from the YouTube. So that's the idea. So I think we'll make a schedule and we all will agree and then we'll post it in the group.
Yeah,
So
it's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be amazing.
so next week, I think Aishwarya is making. In the next 2 days, she'll make a mail, and me, Jaideep, and Asta will go through it, and we'll take your approval, Hudson, so that we are all on the same page.
Sure, sure. And I might include some things that we do here, so we mixed the things. It's gonna be good to know what you do more there and what we do here. And
Yes, yes,
it's good to share these different approaches as well.
yes. Jaideep and Asta, and Jessica wants to say something.
JD,
Yes, sir.
Jessica. Oh, Jessica, how are you? Did you get back? Jessica, you around? Jessica is a little shy today. She doesn't want to. She's one of our 4 vitreoretinal surgery fellows there, and she's very good. She did the residency in our service, and she's very.
She is writing
Jessica,
excellent. She's writing.
what do you
in the
think
group,
of
excellent
presentation?
Okay. So Jaideep, so you, Asta, and me can let Aishwarya write the mail, whatever I spoke to her, and then finalize it and take it okay from Hudson. At least for the next 4 weeks, we can decide what can be the format. And I was just again thinking while Hudson was talking, we can also try to make an something like a e-book on for a fellows for a fellowship.
Yeah, and I will share with the link and for you also the file. So you publish in the Vitretina Master, the YouTube channel there. And I saw that it's already almost 100 people over there, you know?
Yes.
You created the group in a week.
Yes. Aishwarya created it for me.
Yeah. Very good, Aishwarya.
No, thank you, sir. Just with sir's help.
Oh, sure. No. I think as I told you, no, it's we all want to make it a win so that we can use this for every year fellowship, and then the fellow we can then tailor make it to the next fellow next year.
Yes.
Yeah, of course, yeah. It's a
Good.
kind of a course. It's good.
Yeah. So next is
Well,
today
thank you
is
very
the
much,
first-
Rajan. Thank you. I appreciate
Thank you.
Thank
everybody's attention.
Yes, sir.
So where is Daniel today?
Daniel's still sleeping.
Okay. Okay.
It's 8:29 here in
I know,
Brazil. And, you know, it's very good that he sleeps. He's 1 year and 11 months. 11 months 2 days ago. 1 year
Okay.
and 11 months. He's very
And,
happy boy.
Asta, how old are your children?
Same 1 year,
Huh?
11 months. So they'll be 2 years in October.
Oh, same as
Same, sir.
JD, is your son is not there today?
No, he's sleeping too today. Today I made sure he's put to sleep in the other room.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fine.
It's after it's about 5 o'clock now. So at 3:30, I send them, both my daughter and son, to sleep with their mom so that they don't come in here.
That's good, yeah. I say, Natarajan, family is everything. Family. And
Some other meeting?
Yeah, no, we are finishing. The minute I'll join you. I'm here only.
Okay. Yeah, take your time.
Yes, sir.
No problem.
So Jaideep, let
Yes, sir.
Aishwarya make it, and then we will do it.
Sure, sir. I'll go through it and I'll give my inputs.
Right. No, not input. I think I told Aishwarya, you, me, Amit, and Asta will be the teachers. Me and
Okay.
Hudson will be the main mentors. And
Right.
you three will be a teachers, and we are going to be panelists. Whoever can come, we can decide. I mean, every Tuesday, once we start, I believe today they have announced September 21st, everything is going to open.
Right.
All right. All right.
No, in India, they are opening the trains and buses and everything from 21st September, I believe.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Anyhow, so what I'm saying, so we can take turns on Tuesday, but Aishwarya is going to be in the hospital.
Yes.
So flowers to India.
Okay.
Flowers to India.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you. So see you on 8.
Thank you. Bye.
You.
See you on
Bye,
8.
sir. Thank you.
Aishwarya will
everybody.
talk later. You can talk to Jaydeep later.
Yes,
Right?
yes, sir,
Thank you.
I'll coordinate with Jaideep sir and Asma ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, sir. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Bye. Bye bye.